I'm just going without saying.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Do you mind having a conversation with me about it?
Yeah. I love animals, I think we should care for them. I'm not like a vegan. Nature is gritty. Animals eat other animals. I agree with vegetarianism, not veganism. I think we should stop separating humans and animals and let everything coexist.
Do you think that's coexistence?
No. I think that's capitalism. Everything should change. I think people should own their land, grow their own food, and have their own animals.
You know, when you say that, you're not necessarily offering an alternative.
Yeah, you're right. Being vegetarian, you have that empathy for animals. You as a human might vibrate at a higher frequency because of that empathy. That's what one of my pushes was.
If that's what you're about, I would say you can't get more empathic.
Dude, thanks for this. That's great.
No, mate, I love talking to you.
To me, the message is love, innit? So at the end of the day,
100%, mate.
Have a wonderful one.
All the best, mate.
Good
Cheers.
luck,
Have a good night.
You too. I'm just going without saying.
You agree? Are you sure?
Huh?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Do you mind having a conversation with me about it?
Yeah. Alright, meet us at the pub, mate.
Yeah, send me the Addy. Oh, mate, I'm glad you seem down for the conversation.
Oh, dude, I'm always down for a convo.
How-
Get my glasses. Oh. Yeah, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. What's your name?
Veer.
Nice to meet you, Veer. James.
James, nice to meet you, mate.
So, yeah, I'm here to talk about animals, right?
Okay.
So I've got a few questions I'd like to ask, and yeah, if you're game, that's great, mate.
Yeah.
So, first question is, what do you think about animals in general?
I love animals, I think we should care for them. I'm not like a vegan, I think.
You've gone straight to veganism.
Nature is gritty, I think. Animals eat other animals. I don't think it's bad for people to eat animals.
Do you think it has to be gritty?
I don't know, it doesn't have to be, and that's the extent at which I agree with vegetarianism, not veganism, because I think animal products are good. But I agree with it. I think we should care for animals. I think we should live with animals.
I'll get into that. For the next question I'd say is, what do you think it means to care for animals?
Not urbanizing areas where there's habitats.
Individuals. Let me take it to the individual.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a camera there, you don't mind?
Oh shit, no, I didn't even see it. Yeah, that's
No,
cool. Oh, do you want me to? Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah, that's
But it's more about like me and you, I don't want it,
yeah.
So, yeah, you were talking about like not urbanizing areas and wildlife, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think like it means to care about the individual animal?
As in, like,
A dog, a cat, a cow.
not treating it as an animal, treating it as one of us, you know.
Granting it autonomy, per se, you know.
When you say autonomy, like doing things themselves.
Well, no, I thought that's kind of what you were saying there, in that like they're individuals.
Yeah, they
you
are
know,
individuals, but I think
not wanting to harm them.
Yes, yeah, but I also think like we live in cities, you wouldn't let a sheep walk around, but I think like that's just life, isn't it? like I think we should stop separating humans and animals and let everything coexist, and that's what.
Mate, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just jump to it there because you mentioned coexisting. Do you think we are coexisting with animals?
No, I don't think we're coexisting. I don't even think we coexist
And
with ourselves.
you also mentioned the dairy and the meat industry. Do you think that's coexistence?
No. I think that's capitalism.
I grant that as well. I think that's definitely a component. But do you think you can coexist when the end goal, the end result of farming, say, a beef cow?
Yeah.
Is that coexistence if we're just going to send them to slaughterhouse to be eaten?
No, not at all. I think everything should change. I think we should have more farmsteads. I think people should own their land, grow their own food, and have their own animals. Care for these animals as they live. When they need to eat, then they eat. But
you know, when you say that, you're not necessarily offering an alternative to the animal individually. So, like you mentioned, I was basically saying, do you think that individual cow is that coexistence, or is that more they're a product and we're going to eat them later? Whether they're good, life is good or bad, they're still enslaved.
Yeah,
they're still going to be exploited. They're still like the end goal is to eat them.
Yeah. You're right.
So
what's your proposition? Like, what's your idea?
I'm here to try and help people connect their compassion and love for animals with the lifestyle choices they make.
Okay.
And the end goal is like, I'm advocating for veganism.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's essentially saying that most people care for animals. Everyone would teach kids to care for animals. That's sort of how I framed the question initially. But can you care for animals while eating them and while consuming products that are the sole result of their exploitation?
I feel like you've actually
Yeah, I maybe not care for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because ultimately, when we feed kids meat,
Yeah.
or we feed them, dairy, etc., they actually don't know what the behind process is. So I'd like make the case that that's not good either. But actually, we're teaching them that we care for some animals,
Yeah.
not all animals.
Yeah, I agree. That's not right.
But to the animal, they're still an individual, and they suffer the same. Like a cow is very, very similar to a dog,
Yeah.
pig, etc. Pigs are very clever.
Do you think anything like that could happen, like to make these changes? Are you
One
an
day.
advocate for like artificial meat?
As an alternative, so we don't have to exploit animals. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't eat it myself just because it's like too close.
Yes.
Like, and I've already got used to not eating it, so I don't crave it either.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, I would say, yeah, do it so that other people choose that option.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm just eating tofu. That's great.
Fair play, yeah. No, I do agree with you. I think
Cool,
you're right. I
cool.
think there should be.
That's great.
That we should develop more care. I think you're
Yeah.
right where you teach kids to care
Yeah.
for some animals and not
Yeah.
others. That's not right at all.
Because you also, earlier you mentioned, I'm really glad to get agreement from you. You mentioned like the vegetarianism, you see the case, you can see
Yes,
why that's
yeah.
immoral, because,
Yeah.
I mean, you're eating their bodies, so it's like, okay, that I can see why that's wrong.
Yeah.
When it comes to the dairy industry or the egg industry, do you know why like a vegan would strongly advocate against that?
Because of the way they're farmed for those products.
Yeah.
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 So that's what I don't agree with. That's why I said like farmsteads, homesteads, people have it growing their own food and farming their own food in comparison to this mass farming that we do, slaughter
Yeah.
and keeping animals in cages.
The mass stuff, like, I'm always going to agree with you. We should end factory farming, and that's probably going to be the first thing that goes if we're ever going to get to a vegan world.
Yeah.
It's going to be like stop testing factory farms, etc.
Yeah.
However, like usually, like when we talk about those sorts of grand schemes, and obviously like capitalism being a massive driver of it,
Yeah.
I'm totally with you there,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah.
100%. Like that's why animals suffer, because they come after profits.
Yes. Yeah.
Same with humans as well.
Exactly.
Humans are also the victims
Yes,
of that process. So we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when you come back to thinking about the individual, like the individual cow, pig, etc., even if we have like the perfect condition, the ideal situation, which might be like what they have a really great, long enough life,
Yeah.
do you think that justifies then taking them to a slaughterhouse
No.
to then eat them?
No, it's not. I don't think it justifies.
Because I'll just extrapolate from that. With that logic, dogs are the prime subject to be eaten,
Yeah,
because they have the
yeah.
best life, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think it justifies it. I just think
It's better.
Growth. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, cool.
So like I said, I have thought about being vegetarian because I feel like eating meat keeps you in a survival mindset, as in there's the 3 layers of like raise and vibration, you go higher. I think vegetarian.
You're getting stuff I'm not so familiar with,
it's like
but
spiritual shit, woo woo, but like I feel like being vegetarian, you have that empathy for animals, and then you as a human might vibrate at a higher frequency because of that empathy. So that's what one of my pushes were.
well, that's great, because I think ultimately veganism and caring for animals, it's all about empathy.
Yes.
And so, mate, if that's what you're about, I would say like you can't get more empathic than caring for animals, so much so that you don't eat them,
Yes.
don't exploit them, and just going back to the dairy and egg industry, because you kind of granted that eating animals is clearly like something you don't. While you might consume them, you don't actually. You can see the moral problem there, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, with the dairy industry or the egg industry, it's really not very different, because, again, you might throw capitalism into this, but ultimately they're being exploited, not only by the fact that we're like treating them like egg and milk machines, but also because of the bodies they're in, and the fact that eventually they all go to slaughter. So like people don't know this, but 100% of dairy cows get slaughtered. 100%, all of them. None of them live out their lives and have a good one. As soon as they're not profitable, which might mean like when they're spent, which is a technical term, which might be after 6 years of of forced impregnation,
Yeah.
taking the calf away, year on year, so they keep producing milk, and then eventually they're not profitable, so they go to slaughter. We get new calves in to do the same cycle too.
Yeah.
It's a bit mental, right?
That's so mental.
But even if we take that down to like the local scale, it still happens there. Like local farms still slaughter all animals,
yeah.
because ultimately it's a business. And I think you can't really like care for an animal if you're treating them like a milk machine, egg machine. But the other point which I just want to hone in on is just that their very existence is also unethical because, like, you know, when people breed dogs like pugs, they can't breathe properly.
Yeah.
Well, the same applies to all farmed animals. They've been bred in such a way where all of them suffer from the bodies we bred them to be in.
Yeah.
So pigs grow super fast, so they're really big. Chickens hatch way more eggs than they normally would. Initially, it would have been like 12 eggs a year, like the menstrual cycle. Whereas now it's like 300 a year. So that has a massive toll on their bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then same with the cows, like they're bred to have really overly sized udders. So that's also like causes great suffering.
Yeah.
So that, I know I'm just throwing a lot at you,
That's cool.
but essentially like most people don't, and fair enough, it's no one's taught that those are like central components to those industries. So that's why veganism is something I'd advocate for. And the trigger for me, if you want my testimony, you might invite it, but essentially I was the same. I was like, vegetarianism, I get that. I don't get veganism, they're a bit extreme. You got to have some kind of protein source. Yeah. I later learned you didn't need to, and then it's like, oh shit, that gets you thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
But the main trigger was like just investigating these industries, learning more about them, and I just realised, having watched something like a dairy cow get slaughtered, which was the main thing that made me decide. I was like, actually, I can't live ethically comfortable and consistent and pretend I like animals while I'm paying for these things to happen.
And that's the thing, like you keep mentioning industries. I think that's the key problem. Not even just animals, the ecological crisis, everything comes down to it being capitalism to an extent.
Yeah.
I think before that it's greed.
Yeah.
These evil people. But
I agree.
when I say like people doing it themselves, I think that's maybe the closest we could get.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I kind of see what you're getting at there, which is like personal responsibility, which ultimately, even though like I think government should be very responsible for stepping in and trying to like fight against these things, because that's the only kind of power that can. Yeah. Ultimately, when it comes to animal products, it dies with the consumer. Like we do have the power, because if there was no demand for any of this, it wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be, and it's only at the scale it is because the demand is so high. And yes, you could say that's because of like propagandizing of the companies and the government lobbying schemes. Like it goes really, really deep, right? But ultimately, you know, just like we're seeing with people choosing oat milk or soy milk, for instance, like it's having a very real effect on the industries. And so people don't appreciate how much that power they have. And if they want to see real change, they've got to be the change, you know?
I completely agree.
And so, you know, if you can learn about what it means to make that change, adopt it yourself, encourage other people to do it, like I'm trying to do, wouldn't necessarily say every vegan's obligated to like do what I'm doing now. But it really makes a massive difference. And, you know, if we didn't buy meat, eggs, etc., slaughterhouses wouldn't exist. And that's a world that I can get behind.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do agree.
That's the lasting message I'll leave you with. And I do have a card I'd like to leave you with as well, if that's right. This is kind of just so, you know, this is for you to investigate. It's not about me. I don't want you to go vegan for me, even though I love you
It's
too.
just looking at the truth, what happens.
Essentially, yeah. So one side is the victim's perspective, so that's like the harder stuff to watch. One is a speech without any footage, but it says where you can watch them, and like other people. And then the other side is like, okay, environmental reasons why, health reasons why, and then like how. So yeah, that's kind of what I'd like to leave with you.
Yeah, dude, thanks for this. That's great.
No, mate, I love talking to you, and you clearly have all the components of someone that like really cares, and you're the ideal person I'd love to talk to. So I really appreciate you stopping, having a moment with me.
I saw you. Like...
Yeah, and mate, have a nice evening.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, and all the best to you.
Yeah, you too, bro. Yeah, good luck, man. I hope you spread the message. To me, the message is love, innit? So at the end of the day,
100%, mate. It's a very easy message to spread. So yeah,
have a wonderful one.
All the best, mate. Cheers. Have a good night.
You too.
That's you, Dr.